Hi guys, William Morris here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a new Heavyocity library, the Damage Drum Kit. So the library is made for both the full and player versions of Kontakt, 6.7.1 or higher, and it will take up around 10 gigabytes of your hard drive space. It is currently on intro pricing at $99, and there's a further discount for owners of Damage 2. So much like Damage 2, this library is divided into 3 patches that you see in the menu here. So we have the Ensemble Designer, we have a Kit Designer, and a Loop Designer. I won't be spending too much time on the UI in this video, as I did cover it all in my previous review of Damage 2. And this library is exactly the same setup as Damage 2. So we have our staging menu, our source menu where we can choose all our sounds and map them to the keys. We have our settings for per drum and all the performance controls. And then we have a master effects setting as well. I'll leave a link above or in the description below if you guys want to check out that review of Damage 2. But for now, let's jump into the Ensemble Designer. So this is the patch where you'll find what is in essence the main instrument here, which is a rock/metal drum kit with a really kind of aggressive cinematic edge. All the different elements of this drum kit are available from the snapshot menu at the top. And really this snapshot menu kind of serves as a way of just navigating different parts of the 2 kits on offer here. So there's Kit 1 and Kit 2, and both of these kind of come with different kicks, some different snares and some different toms. And there is a normal and then a hyped version of each. So we're just going to start on Drum Kit 1, the regular version. And one of the first things to note here is that it's not mapped the same as a sort of standard GM kit would be. And that is because besides the normal hits, we also have these kind of performance samples. So we have the main hit, and then some of the other keys on the black keys here, we have kind of these different repetition samples. But the nice thing about the UI is that if you did want to map it to a standard GM kit, you can either use the Kit Designer patch, which is mapped to standard GM layout, or you could simply go into the source page here, and here's where we can actually remap all the different samples on the keys. But the mapping here is quite nice to play because, for example, for the kicks, we have a left pedal and a right pedal. So that's kind of really nice for your sort of metal kind of kick patterns, so you can actually play those in if you wanted to. And that's the same with the snares. So I'll just run through what we have on each kit. We have some kicks, performance versions of those. We've got snares, and the performance version of those. The blue section is our cymbals and hi-hats. So you get 2 different kind of variations of the hi-hat, tight and a loose. And we also have performance versions of these as well. Got some sticks. And the final section here are our toms and cymbals. And cowbell on the end. So there is some variety here, but I would say it is more the essential parts of the kit as opposed to a lot of add-ons. So the kit gives you everything, but it is a little bit difficult to play just because it's all kind of spread out so much. Alright, so let's have a quick listen to the hyped version of this. So it's the same kit, just a bit more kind of mix ready and a bit punchier. So that was kit 1. Let's take a listen to kit number 2, the regular version. So the two different kits aren't kind of wildly different. They both sort of are in the same area, and that's a kind of really punchy sort of big sounding rock kit. So I think I do actually prefer the kicks on kit 2. Because kit 1, I'll just bounce back to that one. Sounds like it's kind of got this sort of fast filter thing going on. You know, kind of like a wow kind of thing at the top. They could actually be really beneficial in a mix to stand out, because this kick is definitely the kind of punchier one. One of the features I really loved from the Damage 2 library was this staging control. So we can kind of not only control the stereo width of stuff, but we can also bring elements to the front or back of the hall. So this would be a kind of really dry version. And then we could also bring everything right to the back of the room. We can do this individually as well, you know, on a per drum basis. So there really is a lot of flexibility here. All right, let's dip into some of the other elements, because that's the kind of two main kits, and then everything else is either a processed or extended kind of version of that, just together in a menu. So let's take maybe the Cinematic Stealth kit and just have a listen. So it's kind of an odd one, because it's sort of what you'd maybe think of as a really kind of punchy in-your-face kit, but then it's been given this kind of ambient treatment with all the delay and stuff. So this one for me kind of works a lot better as just sort of individual hits and elements, because you can then kind of keep it quite sparse. Like, got some nice reverses. And that kind of stuff's nice. I feel like maybe this kind of kit was added just to give a bit more variation from the sort of in-your-face sound, but maybe doesn't feel quite at home as some of the other content that they've got going on. So that was Cinematic Stealth. Let's have a go. The toms are really good, actually. Again, it's the toms from the main kit, so this isn't kind of new stuff, but this is just kind of having it all in one place on a big menu with all the performance stuff as well. It definitely takes a bit of getting used to with all these performance options added in, because I'm sort of finding that some are on the black keys and some are on the white keys as well. So you do have to learn the menu a little bit, and it might be nice to kind of have different color coding for this, because I do find myself playing the performance hits by accident a lot of the time. But I love the sound of the toms, they do sound great. Okay, so as you can see, there is quite a bit in here, but it is based around those two sort of main kits, which then have the kicks and snares and toms swapped out on them. Let's just try the sticks, clacks and wax one. Just from playing through, it feels like the library does have, a decent amount of velocity layers and round robin stuff going on. It does favour those higher velocities, I would say, and not come across anything that's sort of super quiet. But I mean, this is a damaged library. It's kind of geared towards those sort of heavier styles. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the Ensemble patch. I think with a lot of these I'm probably going to end up making my own sort of key mappings. So maybe I can just have all the hits kind of down on one key range and then all my sort of performance stuff up on another. And the source menu does make that kind of really easy. You can swap out anything at all in the library that you don't like. So, say I wanted a different kick drum, this is just my kick drum menu. At the minute we're on kick 1, the right pedal, but I could easily swap that out for kick 2, which is my kind of preferred one from earlier. I think the one thing that would be really nice to see here is just the option to be able to unload different keys. So at the minute I think you can only add or replace, but you can't just disable bits entirely. Alright, so that's the ensemble stuff. Let's jump into the kit designer. So this actually uses I believe the same samples and kits from the ensemble patch, but this is really just a different way of kind of playing it. And the different snapshots they have here are more sort of like mix presets. So we have all the damaged ones, which are the much more processed, kind of way over the top aggressive sort of stuff, which sounds awesome. And then we have Organic Bank, which is a bit more traditional, but still kind of pretty heavy. And again, these are using sort of the same samples, but they've just had a different processing thing to them. So they're almost like a different kind of kit vibe. So we're starting out with this aggressive puncher one, which sounds a bit like this. So yeah, just a really nice upfront kind of sound. The one thing I do like about this workflow over the Ensemble Designer is that you do actually have control as to where you send each individual drum within Kontakt. And that is something which is missing in the Ensemble Designer, which would have been nice. So this does mean that we could actually send, the kick, snare, etc. to different output channels within Kontakt, and then in DAW you can kind of then process them individually. Whereas with the Ensemble Designer, there's no kind of option for that. So you sort of have to do most of your processing within the patch itself, or you could do kind of duplicates of that patch in Kontakt and then process them individually that way. But that's kind of going to be a bit of a drain on the old resources. So let's have a listen to another one of the kits. Go in the Organic Bank and let's try a dry and close one. So as these are all sort of standard GM layout, it's much easier to play and much easier to program as well. You've kind of got maybe something on a kit from a different library and you just want to move it across and hear what it sounds like on these damaged drum kits. It's a nice kind of easy transition. It's really cool how much variation they've got from just a couple of these drum kits though. All right, let's have a listen to some more. This one's one I really like. I really like the processing on this one. It kind of sounds like you want to play sort of really slow and heavy kind of riffs and stuff over it. But as you can hear, quite a lot of variation in the sort of treatments these have been given. Let's try Stadium Rocker. Yeah, nice big verby snares. Alrighty, so that's another one of the organic ones. Now let's try some of the damaged stuff. Let's just try the first one. So very processed, a lot of distortion, and these are going to be your kind of really vibey kits. Let's try a couple more of these ones. So very vibey, really industrial kind of sounding stuff. Let's try a couple more of these. All right, so that's pretty much it, I think, for the kit designer. I think for a lot of people, this is probably going to be a much more familiar layout and way of working with the drum kit. So it's obviously set up for pads, so it's kind of nice for people using controllers as well. And with these kind of mixed snapshots that they've got at the top, it makes it really fast to kind of dive into a particular style. All right, let's check out the final patch, which is Loop Designer. So again, this is really similar to the way that Damage 2 operates. So on the lower blue keys down here, we can play back the full loop. And then in the octaves after that, we're playing just sort of bits of the loop. So it starts with the lower elements. Then we have our mids. We have our high elements. I think the last one is just cymbal reverses, and they're all tied to a particular bar length, which is nice. I won't spend a lot of time on the loops. I mean, if you've had any Heavyocity stuff before, you know they do really kind of great loops. But I also know that maybe some people aren't interested in the loop content as much as the main instrument. Yeah, they all sound really nice. You can basically change the feel of them up in the snapshots menu here. So at the minute we're in the All-Star Bites the Dust category. But if you want kind of a different feel, we could maybe go to the rapid fire one. I'd say a lot of these loops maybe favor the more processed kind of hybrid stuff. There's not as many sort of natural, organic sounding ones. Maybe this one is probably the closest. There's still a fair amount of effect stuff going on. The nice thing is you do have straight and triplet measure of everything. It's really nice having those triplets in there, especially on cinematic stuff. Obviously the loops do vary slightly as per the sort of measure that they're being given. Let's try one of these triplet patterns. And there's also utility patches at the bottom. These are just separated into full loop, high loop, low loop, and mid loop. So let's take a listen to some of the mids on the triplet. So yeah, hopefully that gives you an idea of the loop category. It's probably not one I'd use too much myself, but it's definitely nice to have if you're on an ultra tight deadline or you just need some kind of inspiration to get you going on a cue. So I think my takeaway from this library is definitely positive overall. It's got all those kind of things you'd expect from Heavyocity, so really great sounding samples. The sound design is also amazing, and their UI always offers kind of a lot of flexibility and options to kind of make these sounds your own. It does feel that although this is a standalone library, that it feels a bit more like an add-on pack to Damage 2. And Damage 2 does cover a little bit of the same ground in its own sort of kit designer categories, because there are some sort of processed kits in there that kind of are in this kind of vein. So I think the main sort of selling point for this library is going to be the kind of main unprocessed drum kit. And here I think if you're looking for a kind of big punchy drum kit that kind of lives halfway between a rock and metal kit and a big sort of cinematic kit, I think this is probably the right kind of library for you. I think on the negative side, there's probably a little bit of overlap for those that already have Damage 2, just in the kit designer patches, because there's already some sort of great sounding process kits in there. Another thing is that it would have been nice to maybe have a proper output assignment in this Ensemble Designer so that you could route sort of individual drums to separate outputs in Kontakt for processing, although that is included in the kit designer stuff, so that's kind of a way around that a little bit. I think playing through as well, it definitely feels like this is a core kit without a ton of kind of add-on sounds and samples, so there's just a really nice, you know, kick, snare, toms, cymbals kind of thing. But I would have loved to kind of hear Heavyocity's take on maybe, you know, stomps, claps, that kind of thing, just some sort of extra percussive stuff that lives along with the drum kit. But who knows, maybe this will come along in another library. But I'd be, you know, really interested to kind of hear the Heavyocity take on that. And my final one is a really small point, but just in the UI, it would have been lovely for the source page to be able to sort of unload some of these samples, so I could maybe just have a really stripped back kind of thing across one octave and not have to load in the rest of these things as well. I think I may have mentioned this before on previous Damage library, but it would have been lovely for the loop designer page if these loops could have had an included MIDI file that you can sort of drag and drop into your DAW. And that would just mean for any loop that I really like, I can just have a really fast way of putting that onto another instrument or another drum library. It's something I've seen in a few other libraries, and it just would have been lovely to have it included here. But yeah, overall, amazing sound as always from Heavyocity, great UI, and I think if you're looking for a big sort of rock metal kit that stands halfway between traditional sort of rock and pop production and a really stylized sort of over-the-top cinematic kit, I think this is going to cover a lot of that ground for you. Alright guys, hope you've enjoyed this walkthrough and review. If you do have any questions, let me know in the comments. If not, I'll see you again on the next one.